All right, folks, and Mike right here. I want to do this segment called our little progress report where we sum up the feedback that we've gotten, whether it's verbal, directly with our friends, family, and whoever's listening, and the comments that we've gotten on YouTube or whatever other platform that we're on. And I want to tell you, Mike, that the feedback's been positive. People like the direction that we're going in, and I think we're going to obviously keep doing this. We're not going to dismiss this.
No.
So for those of you that have listened and given us feedback or given me feedback, I know Mike is still waiting to open the floodgates.
I don't.
Yeah.
You know me with social media and everything.
I
I'm
know.
just like, and we can talk about that later.
You're going to
if
have
you
to make a
want,
Twitter account. But
yep.
So again, massive appreciation for anybody that's taken the time to listen to one of these podcasts. If you listen to more than that, well, thank you. I seem to have influenced some people to actually start listening to podcasts because they didn't know this world existed. It's kind of neat to listen to people have a decent conversation and relay good information back and forth. Someone said that she didn't know us and thought that we vibed very well. Like we played off each other very well. The concerns I had versus the concerns you had, and the back and forth, the question and the answering, we did a good job.
No, I think.
How do you feel about that?
I like how we interact with each other because we're different people.
Yes.
In a lot of ways, like we have disagreements, and I think it's good to have disagreements and not conflict, but maybe let's step below conflict, but just strong, passionate dialogue about everything that's going on. And if people just agreed with each other all the time, it would be boring as hell. So
Yes,
it's good to have
would.
people just disagree and say, no, let's try this or try that. And the whole reason I want to podcast to begin with is because it's almost irrelevant if people listen, to be honest, because when you're just talking for an hour with someone that you respect and you can play off each other, like, if you do that long enough, you're going to become smarter. You're going to become better at things, and you have a different perspective. And I mean, Jordan Peterson stuff, talk just so you can figure out what you know.
Yeah, it's true, because when you have conversations, you're essentially relaying the information you have.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you stimulate the other person to get more information, so you can have a better conversation next time,
Sure.
That's what we've constantly done. And that's what I think makes this something.
Sure. And I think the interesting thing is that there's this yearning for podcasting that people just are realizing the past, 5-10 years, whatever it's been.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, back in the day, if you had a problem or if you were just around people, you talked over a campfire until it was resolved. You know what I mean? Like that's the psychology of what we're doing right now. We're returning to the campfire in a weird way. But you can record it and you can share it and people can react and whatever it is. But I mean, across the board, for so many different reasons, you talk to someone for a long period of time to figure shit out.
Yes.
And this is why it's a nightmare to watch cable news right now or anything. It's literally a fucking nightmare to watch anything. Really, I don't even watch stand-up. I don't even watch talk shows anymore, like late night talk shows.
Yeah, I hear you. I used to love them. I used to love them.
I was a huge fan of Conan back in the day, and I used to love all that stuff. But right now, it's all unwatchable.
It really is.
It's terrible.
I think that's why people are regressing into people-made content. This could be your neighbor, this could be your friend, this could be your family member. We're making content. People know us. So for those of you listening, again, thank you, because you're the audience. The other day I got a call from Nick. Shout out to Nick. He wanted to talk to me. That was his first podcast experience, and he enjoyed it. And so we're here. You're the audience. If you're listening to this right now, you are the audience. You're more than welcome to talk to me, or more than welcome to talk to Mike, or if you have to, send us a message and convey your opinion. Inform me, educate me, and even debate me. I am open to it. I don't shut anybody out. Chances are, if I'm getting into a debate, I'm going to learn something. And if anything, at the end of the day, I'm going to learn your point of view.
Yeah, I mean, the whole reason, again, to podcast is you want to be able to talk to anyone about anything. That's the way forward right now in the 21st century. I mean, forget about walls.
Man, do we need that.
Yeah, you need to be able to talk to anyone about anything and remain calm and remain reasonable and just talk it out. Because, I mean, something you realize as you get older is you're wrong about a lot of things. You're right about some things, but you're wrong about a ton of things.
Like I mentioned in our last podcast, you have more tools and experience to realize what went wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's a learning experience because so many people are just married to their ideas and they believe the same thing they believed when they were 13. And I have a problem with that. You shouldn't be believing the same thing you believe when you're 13.
You should
be
check
moving
up on it.
and adjusting.
Is this still right?
You know what I mean? Yeah, let's revisit this whole thing.
Yeah, as you get older, you have a driver's license, and then you get really old, and should you still be driving? You have to kind of re-up your ability.
Yeah.
And same thing with your beliefs, or same thing with your point of views.
Yeah.
Like, is it still legit? And I think that's what our listeners so far appreciate.
I mean, and something I want to do down the road is I want to have a third chair that's open to anybody. Anybody who wants to stop by, come on by.
Fourth chair even.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I'm working on gear.
What are the rules you would think about coming on the podcast? No violence, no yelling.
Course.
I mean, there's a very short list of rules. I mean, no temper tantrums.
There might be emotional outbursts, but
yeah.
when it gets acknowledged, calm down.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath. We're going to talk about it. That's why we're here.
But I want to talk to people that I disagree with the most.
I'm looking forward to that.
Like that's just like whoever my opposite is, like let's talk, let's hash it out. I mean, there's nothing off the limits. Like you want to talk about anything, like sex, drugs, politics, death. I mean, I don't care. Like let's just hash it all out. Because there's so much interesting things just to talk about.
And well, now that you bring that up, another thing of feedback that we have is we go on tangents.
I love my tangents, though.
One thing leads to another, and then you forgot where you were. So we
Yeah.
hear you loud and clear, folks. We're going to start taking notes during our cast. I'm trying to keep us on the rails more often. I don't want to do super long-form podcasts. I know Joe Rogan hits 3 hours.
An hour is pretty good.
I want to do an hour, even if it's a short topic, a half an hour, just to get the information that we know out there.
You don't want to go shorter or longer, I think.
Yeah, I want to feed someone's commute. Like essentially, if you're listening to this and you're commuting to work, I want to provide something informative and entertaining as you drive to work or you commute. If you're doing something mundane like chores, that's when I listen to podcasts. And so we want to provide something that informs you, educates you, kind of fills your mind while you're doing something mundane. Make the most of your time. So if we can contribute to that, thank you. Thank you for choosing us.
Yeah, and I mean this is actually an open call. If anyone wants to stop, even like on a Skype thing, that's fine. That's totally safe. Because I mean it's a little weird to have someone
in my house,
in your house. You know, I mean. But like a Skype thing, I think that's open to anyone.
Yes,
correct me if I'm wrong.
We have a workflow to have you on Skype with a video camera. Unlike this podcast and this progress report, we can take someone, we put them on camera, we can talk to them, and we can host up to 3 or 4 people in our physical space. And online, as long as you have a decent microphone and you have a good internet connection to be clear, we can have you on and talk. And right now, we're still in season 0. We're experimenting.
Yeah.
We're not projecting this or we're not marketing this. And if word gets around, so be it. But we're really not trying just yet.
Even if word doesn't get around, like I'm still gonna do this. It's like whatever, dude. The question I can ask you is: are there any? We don't have to answer this question now, but are there any specific topics that you want to tackle shortly in the future that you think maybe even like other people can contribute? Like, hey, why don't you guys talk about this? And we'll research it and we'll talk about it.
I think a massive one right now. And we need to get a female voice on the pod. We need to get a few female voices on the podcast. There is some massive rough edges between men and women right now.
Sure.
Especially on the liberal left side of things, and toxic masculinity and radical feminism, and there is a humongous rift between our sexes on that end, and we kind of want to soften that up and reason and maybe bring people together and make them not as horrible. Like there are horrible people out there.
Yeah.
There are horrible people with bad thoughts, and they're unaware or ignorant that they're being rude or
I think
terrible.
Just stick with unaware.
Yeah.
Ignorant is always
we'll stay with that.
Never use that word.
Well, I'm not. We're speaking about somebody in particular.
I get it.
But, okay.
But like that always leads to nowhere.
But it's always conversations about men and women. And that's what relationship talk is. That's what relationship advice is. And essentially, we have to fix just the social realm now. Like, how do you just socialize around men and women and not cause problems? So I think that's something I'd like to tackle a few times in the future. And then I was talking to my cousin. She's a special education teacher, and man, does she have amazing insight on the education system and how it's not working. And that's a big deal because I was listening to podcasts about how we're raised to be mediocre. We're not raised to be amazing.
That's heavy right there.
And dude, she can tell you how that happens. You're taught to be the mean, not the impressive thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so that'll be great to have her on and her insight to the education system and how we're being educated by the state in general.
You get really conspiratorial about what you just said, like...
It's true, man. I can blow the doors open. Like, you're taught to be an employee, not, like, they don't teach you how to be a business owner now.
Just turn your reports in on time. That's what you're doing.
Yeah. When you hear the bell, you either start or stop working.
Well, it's dark. Anyway.
I'm sorry.
No, it's great that that's something I want to talk about at length because I think that's a huge problem right now. And the optimistic / depressing thing about what we're going on right now is that podcasts have become the education source for a lot of young people right now.
I've seen memes.
Yeah.
Education in 2005 or something. It was a university. Education in 2017. It's a picture of Joe Rogan.
Yeah, exactly.
And then lastly, what I want to talk about, this is near and dear to me, is depression.
Mm-hmm.
And you just said it's a depressing topic, right?
Yep.
I think there's an epidemic of depression. There's people taking medications. They're taking all sorts of things. They're trying things in life to be happy, and they are failing at being. Failing at being happy? Like, you don't have an option. You don't have a thought. You don't have anything in your environment to help you make you happy. People own dogs, and dogs have unconditional love for you, but I guess that wears off, and you just realize you're still lonely or depressed. And
yeah, that's a interesting topic.
I said that's a mission of mine. Like, if there's anything I can do for the world, like now with my new mindset, the way I think about things, the way I can dismiss stress, the way I meditate and I think about things I have to deal with now, it's not very stressful. And I know how to keep myself in a comfortable state. I know how to keep myself in an optimistic mindset, and I know how to essentially leave a situation when it would be too stressful.
No.
And I think that's something people don't think about, because they think, okay, this is your job, this is your life, this is how you think, this is when you entertain yourself, and the cycle repeats and repeats and repeats, and that's what's depressing you. It's not a fucking medical pill or some sort of drug is not going to make you feel better. It's a Band-Aid. It's essentially making you accept it. So the real problem is how you're living. It's not a pill or it's not a chemical imbalance. Yeah. I mean, in a very rare situation, there might be a chemical imbalance, because that happens.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't think the majority of people taking depression medication need it.
But that's something that I would love to talk about with an expert, because like I want some data on that.
I think that
stuff,
would be where we start season 1, Mike.
Good.
If we have a doctor or someone researching this or some sort of intellectual.
Yeah. So anyone listening right now, if you know anyone who's willing to talk, and it becomes a little weird because you don't want anyone to get in trouble if they say something controversial. But that's kind of what we do here. You know what I mean?
That's what we're going to do.
We're going to talk about some really intense and controversial subjects, hopefully with reason being number one. Like, reasonably, let's talk about the worst things we can talk about as a human being, and find some light at the end of the tunnel. So,
all right, folks. Well, thank you for listening. This is just a progress report letting you know how we're going to continue on in the future. Your feedback is always welcome, and don't feel like you're bothering me or Mike if you talk to us about our podcast. Yep. We actually really want to hear it, and we'll welcome anything you have to say about it, even if it is in a conflictual point of view. What is the word I'm trying to come up with? The opposite point of view.
If you wanted us to go fuck ourselves.
Did I just make a word? Conflictual point of view?
Conflictual. I think
that's a real word. Or
listen, if you hate our guts, that's cool too.
Yeah, just tell me.
We'll
okay figure it out. And if you really hate us, we'll maybe have you on the show to see why. All right. So with that said, thank you for listening to our little progress report in season 0. Mike is just gonna laugh this one out, and we'll see you soon.